Hello, welcome, and thank you for taking time to watch this video. We would like you to acknowledge that this video is for entertainment purposes only and is not in any way legal advice. If you would like legal advice, then please see or speak to a lawyer or solicitor in the legal profession. We are here to ask the same questions as many of the men and women that stand on the land. And no, we are not following or belong to any Freeman movement, cults, gangs, and so on. These questions are not to challenge, but to get clarification. Today's subject is a selection of questions put forward from men and women to whom controls the enforcement of the, also written as an acronym, PCN. Okay, so let's get started. Do all of the employees and or subjects that work for the councils as public servants know English grammar and the language style being used to give PCN tickets? We figure that they may not know and have not been taught the language and style being used. We only say this due to looking over a PCN document and reviewing it. Let us look at how the ticket comes in its packaging. When you see a ticket stuck on your car or bike, you will notice that the words on the packet are all in capital letter words and within a box. We noticed this is the first mistake or fraud or error, whatever you want to call it. We say this because the words are written in all capital letters, which means it's not English grammar descriptive text. So what foreign language is being used? If we know what we are looking at, and it is written in Chicago's Manual of Style, 16th edition, and Oxford Style Guide as evidence, then can the council provide the evidence on what style guide they are using to train the parking enforcement officers or designers of the packaging? We did a bit of research and found the government style guide online. The link is in the description bar below this video for you to see for yourself and do your own research or follow along. As you can see, the government style guide was updated on 8th of August 2018 and states, the Government Digital Service Style Guide covers style, spelling and grammar conventions for all content published on gov.uk arranged alphabetically. So looking at this, and whoever put this together knows and is informing everybody and every employee that there is style, spelling and grammar conventions to follow. Okay, so let's see what capitalization has to say. Capitalization. Always use lowercase, even in page titles. The exceptions to this are proper nouns, and then it goes on to give how to use and where to use capitalization. If you wondered why we missed out the top two lines, we will address this in a moment. As we scroll down, we see that it shows what not to capitalize. We cannot seem to find any explanation, but we did notice that the style guide uses abbreviations and acronyms. And as you can see, they use the acronym CHAPS, which means Clearing House Automated Payment System. On seeing this, we looked at abbreviations and acronyms and found an explanation that states, the first time you use abbreviations or acronym, explain it in full on each page, unless it's well known, like UK, DVLA, US, EU, VAT and MP. So they are actually telling the employees that if they use abbreviation or acronym, they must explain what the acronym is in full on the page, as we saw earlier with the acronym CHAPS, which means Clearing House Automated Payment System. Also, underneath it states, if you think an acronym is well known, please provide evidence that 80% of the UK population will understand and commonly use it. Evidence can be from search analytics or testing or representative sample. Do not use full stops in abbreviations, BBC, not B.B.C. So here, they are telling every man and woman, every employee, public servant, parking enforcement officer to provide evidence that 80% of the UK population will understand and commonly use it. Okay, let's return back to the capitalization page. As you see, the first two lines of text is written in all capital letter words. So we assume that these words are acronyms or abbreviations. Let's read and speak as acronyms what is written. Do not use block capitals for large amounts of text as it's quite hard to read. Now, to us, That was not quite hard or difficult to read and speak as acronyms. The only problem is that there is no explanation in full of what the acronyms actually mean, as gov.uk stated. The first time you use abbreviations or acronyms, explain it full on each page, unless it's well known, like UK DVLA, US, EU, VAT and MP. And to give clarification, by seeing many acronyms with more than 2 letters, can gov.uk or Oxford Style Guide provide evidence that an acronym should only be a certain amount of letters used to make an acronym? Remember, this style guide of the government are instructions to all men and women employed by the government who act as public servants and employees to learn and abide by. We would like to point out that words written in all capital letters stated in the Chicago Manual of Style under section 11.147 is American Sign Language and is also a foreign language. The difference between the Government Style Guide and Chicago Manual of Style Guide is that there are hyphens in between each of the words to show that it is American Sign Language. Even though it may read or be written as a form of assumed deceptive English grammar, there is no one-to-one correspondence, meaning the words or sentence are completely different in comprehension and understanding. So if the hyphens are then removed, that would mean that American Sign Language has been debased, reduced, tarnished, diluted, and is no more seen as American Sign Language. So we ask, what language are the men and women acting as parking enforcement officers using for the definition of words written are able to be read and spoken as capital letter words in English? And where can it be found? On or within the gov.uk style guide as a reference? We agree that gov.uk are using acronyms as stated and evidenced in Oxford Style Guide, because gov.uk have a section on abbreviation and acronyms as seen earlier. If it is a language, whether foreign or legal, then can you state if it is debased American Sign Language, debased British Sign Language, debased Ancient Latin, Italian, Mandarin, Russian, French, Icelandic, German, Australian, Swahili, Jamaican, African, Mauritian, Polish, Japanese? So, to conclude the question asked, do all of the employees and or subjects that work for the councils as public servants know English grammar and the language style used to give PCN tickets? And if not, then how can a parking enforcement officer or parking attendant give a fine to a man or woman and cause loss to that man or woman if the parking enforcement officer or parking attendant do not comprehend and understand or stand under the rule given by their employer? Or are the parking enforcement officers illegally going against the rules of gov.uk? If they are, then they should provide the name and address of the man or woman acting as the parking enforcement officer and or parking attendant, so they can be taken to court for many crimes against the government and for victimless crimes against the public and private men and women in propria personam, and much, much more. Maybe this video will help to educate the public servants, also known as parking attendant and parking enforcement officers, or whatever label you want to be given. We know and observe that it can be a rough job as a parking enforcement officer, giving tickets that carry a fine or a charge to innocent men and women that know you have not got a clear understanding of your job. And we know that some of the men and women can become violent towards you, but it's only because you do not know what your job entails and you are being ignorant to the learning procedures of gov.uk. But we don't blame you. Be sure though to ask your employer what to do if you get arrested by a police officer that serves the public, and how to explain yourself to the police officer for vandalizing another man's or woman's property. Or you can smile when the man or woman you are giving the ticket to can take a photo to prove in court that it was you giving an illegal ticket, fine or charge. Also, the box on the packaging enclosing the text is known in the legal profession as the four corners rule. Go and ask a solicitor, lawyer, or look in one of their law books, because that's another thing the parking enforcement officers need to learn. And that's just the packaging. We will look at the ticket in another video. Remember to subscribe and click the bell icon for more incoming videos.